How's it going? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I want to talk to you about piston rings. This video was recommended to me by one of you guys. So if there's anything that you want to see in the future, just drop a comment below and we'll make it happen. Inside of a 4-stroke internal combustion engine, the piston rings have 3 main functions. The big 2 of them are going to be controlling cylinder pressure and creating a vacuum to help draw air and gas into the chamber. 2, controlling oil and also lubricating the piston skirts and bringing oil up to lubricate the rings. And the third one, actually a little bit of heat dissipation off of the piston into the engine block, where the cooling system can then extract that heat through the radiator. If we look at a piston, and everything we're going to talk about are going to be 3-ring designs. Sure, there are some pistons that have 2 rings, but we're not going to talk about them right now. So on this type of piston, we have a bottom ring, and that's where the oil tension ring is going to go. The tension ring is composed of 3 parts. This part is a spring that applies pressure outwards on the bore. And so you'll hear oil rings have high tension, low tensions, medium tensions. That's basically how much pressure is this spring ring going to apply to the cylinder walls. On the spring, you can see these little itty bitty flats on the top and the bottom. And on those flats go the scrapers. These are what actually contact the bore on the oil ring. This gold one is just a spring putting pressure on these guys, and they are what help control oil. Above that, we have our second groove. The second groove has 2 jobs. One is it also controls oil, and 2, it is the first ring that will actually help draw a vacuum and control cylinder pressure. Above that, we have our top ring. The top ring is going to be exposed to the most heat and pressure, and it's usually made out of a different type of material. And you'll also see coatings on the top rings as well. So, oil rings are pretty simple. There's not much to them. These come in different thicknesses and different tensions. This is where you get into some debate on what tension you should run. And that might be a video for a different time because there's a lot about that. But a basic rule of thumb for this video's sake, if it's a super high performance, naturally aspirated race engine, you're going to want as light tension as possible. If it's a mild street engine, we can go ahead and put some more tension on it. If it's a dry sump engine and there's no oil in the sump being splashed up, you can go lighter on the tension. If it's wet sump, you need to go heavier on the tension. If different types of power adders, different types of compression ratios will change the tension. It's a whole thing. So let's move on from oil tension stuff. Second ring, let me get a couple examples here. All right, so the second ring is going to also control a little bit of that oil flow and aid in drawing a vacuum and retaining cylinder pressure. For a general mild performance street engine, we will run a standard cast iron second ring. And then if it's going to be a performance engine, we'll step it up to what's called a Napier ductile iron second ring. And so on these Napier rings, you can see a little hook right there that reduces the contact patch that the ring has against the bore, reducing friction, and also physically will scrape oil off the bore and return it back to the sump. And this is where you'll start to see really thin rings come into play. So I think this ring I have in my hand is an 043 second ring. So it's 43 thousandths thick. Pretty cool. This one's a 4.125 bore. And then this one is just your standard uncoated cast iron ring for a mild street engine. The top ring is always going to be a little bit higher type of material, more premium type of material, because again, it has a lot more heat and a lot more cylinder pressure. So in a standard street engine, we will run a ductile iron top ring with a plasma moly coating. You can see that coating go around the side of it. Pretty cool. And same thing, this is a pretty thick standard top ring for a mild performance street motor. And then right here we have a micro thin 0.9 millimeter. So let me hold these up next to each other. Check this out. See how much thinner that other ring is? The thinner the ring is, the lighter weight it is, which always helps the engine. And second, it's a lot more flexible, and it can conform to the bore as the engine heats up and things start moving around under a lot of power. Whenever we start to do power adder engines or very high performance engines, we will then step up to a stainless steel top ring because it has a lot better heat characteristics. It can withstand the heat and the pressure better than your ductile iron. So that's a stainless top. The next dude above that is going to be tool steel. This is an M2 hand-lapped tool steel ring from Total Seal, and it's basically just the next step up. You know, this ring would be in something making over 2,000 horsepower and really, really pushing the envelope of what you can do in an internal combustion four-stroke. And so it is super, super rigid, has a crazy high heat tolerance, and it's just bad to the bone. And same thing, you can get these at different thicknesses. So speaking of thicknesses, my general rule of thumb is anything mild performance, you know, you're just looking for a nice engine, we can go ahead and run like a 1/16 top ring, and that'll do you just fine. As the engine gets higher in performance, being naturally aspirated, we'll start to thin this ring up. This one, for example, is a 0.9 millimeter thick ring. It's super, super, super thin. However, if it's a super high power adder engine, like a big nitrous, big turbo, big supercharger, we'll make that ring a little bit thicker again. So we go back from 0.9, a little bit thicker to 0.43. And the theory is that the ring has a little more material in it. It can dissipate that heat a little bit better, a little more sturdy, a little more strength. And that top ring will fit right in to that groove on the piston, right there. This is actually the top ring and piston for my next 2,500 horsepower LS that we're going to do a full build on once all the parts are here. Pretty cool. Let's talk about some pistons though, and where you can put the ring land in the piston and how that will affect performance. So if you're doing like a NASCAR type pro stock, super high end naturally aspirated engine, you'll run this top ring groove very close to the top of the piston. And that's going to give you a little bit slightly fractionally more compression ratio, and the engine will make a little bit more power because the ring is further up and it can create a better seal. As cylinder pressure and heat rise, like in a big turbo engine or a big power adder engine, we'll start to bring that ring down to keep it away from the heat. So the aluminum, there's just a little bit of a buffer area there. And as you bring that ring down, you can then start to tighten its gap up because it has less heat on it, so that as the ring gets hot and expands, the ends don't touch. And so since you've brought that ring down, you can tighten the gap up a little bit, and at the end of the equation, you've got a better solution, more or less. On the top of a high performance piston, you'll see these little grooves, and these are basically anti-detonation grooves, or I think they call it side contact grooves. And so if you were to zoom into the side profile, you'd see a bunch of sharp peaks coming off these. And the theory is whenever there's detonation above the piston, these grooves will disrupt the shock wave and kind of protect the ring. And they are also designed to wear into the engine as the piston rocks and totally stabilize the piston in its process. Second, you have an accumulator groove in between the top and the second ring, and that is another shockwave barrier, again, to help protect the next ring down. In pistons, you'll see different things. You'll see vertical gas ports and lateral gas ports. These pistons, for example, have lateral gas ports. You can see them in the very top groove going around. And the theory on those is as that expanding gas comes around the piston, the gas can go behind that gas port and then put pressure on the ring, expanding the ring and creating a bigger and better seal. On a street engine that wants to run gas ports, we'll add them laterally, as in this case. But if it's an all-out race-only engine, we can make them vertical, and they'll be a little bit more effective, but the problem is they will also deposit carbon in the gas port, and that can create a hot spot as well as block the gas port, rendering it useless. So generally, I would only go vertical if it's a drag race only alcohol, methanol, E85 engine that's not going to have a lot of carbon. Anything else on the street, you can add them on the side. They will not build up any carbon because no carbon really forms on the side of the piston. Shouldn't be, at least. And then you still get the benefits of the extra ring seal. So I think that kind of wraps it up. Rings are kind of a weird thing where you could talk about them for hours. There's so many variables on a ring. I would recommend, if you're building your own engine, call somebody who knows what they're talking about and can get you the right parts for your application. Or you can call Total Seal. You can just call Total Seal, 1-800-TOTAL SEAL. Hey man, I'm building this engine. I need a set of rings for it. What do you recommend? And they'll always shoot you straight. There's a lot of other rings I didn't even have a chance to go over, like gapless top, gapless second. Dykes is another one. And so really the list just goes on and on and on. But for your general street engine, anything that you and I would be playing with, light nitrous, turbo, power adder LSs, this should give you a little bit of a foundation to help figure out what rings you need for your engine. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all next week.